Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymart and you are watching Test Driven TV. Look at this. That's a lot to look at, isn't it? This is the 2026 Dodge Charger Scat Pack Plus with the new 6-pack under the hood. Yep, it has traded its charging port for a fuel tank. So we're going to show it to you inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive and then I'm going to tell you what I really think. All right, everybody, I have to tell you that I know my audience well enough to know that most of you don't give a damn about anything I'm going to say up to the point at which we start the car and we go for a drive. So I promise I'll make the walk around and the sit in on the interior as pain-free and quick as I can. So let's look at the car we've got. 2026 Dodge Charger Scat Pack Plus, and this has the new 6-pack Hurricane twin turbo 6 under the hood, all-wheel drive, 550 horsepower. Yeah, 550 horsepower. And the best part for a lot of you out there is the fact that this is not the electric version. It traded the electric motors, it traded the battery for well, it's not really a good old-fashioned gas engine, but it is a gas engine. You put gasoline in this. As tested, we're at $67,000 and some change. You can get this down around $60,000, $61,000 if you don't spend all of the money on the options. They always send us well-optioned cars. But this car has been reborn. This is the 8th generation Charger. Same car, 2-door or 4-door, as far as its overall silhouette and styling. This is the 2-door. It's been a pretty long time since we have had a large 2-door coupe in America. So I think that's good. And the styling on this, I absolutely think they have nailed it. This, to me, is the best looking Charger I have ever seen. It is the closest to the original, well, not necessarily the original, the 2nd generation Charger, 68 to 70, is the car that this closely resembles, and it's almost the same size. That is the funny part. This car is absolutely huge. This car has a 121-inch long wheelbase. It has a 206, almost 207-inch length. It's 80 inches wide. That makes it almost the exact same size as the 2nd generation 68 to 70 Dodge Charger. It weighs close to 5,000 pounds, which actually makes it weigh about 1,200 pounds more than a fully decked 1970 Charger RT. Think about that. We are in an age when we were supposed to have smaller, lighter, more efficient cars, and this is the biggest, heaviest hugga-mugga of them all. And proportionately, it looks the part. It has bigger tires and wheels than it used to, and that wheelbase is longer, so it looks a little bit more athletic. I think it looks totally muscular. As we go around and look at the shots, you can see the shoulder and the hip lines on this thing. This thing is built. It is stacked. Looking at the hood, nice detail there. It says 6-pack right in the vent. And just the sculpting. I could go on for a long time and just talk about the styling, but I'll let it speak for itself. This one does have the 20 by 11 inch wheels, the large Brembo brakes. Look at that. Those are huge brakes. They need to be to stop this car because it's not only fast, but it's heavy. And just the little details that they've done around the car that really wake you up to not only its past and its history and its heritage, but really make it modern in a good way. The lighting, LED, signature lighting all the way across that grille, knock it out of the park at night. Up on the roof, this has the glass roof option, and with the blacktop package, this just has a continuous black trim, blacked out look, save for the orange paint, which I absolutely love. A bright color on a muscle car. Getting to the back, nice black spoiler and big LED. Not quite the racetrack look we had before, but a very similar styling element. It matches the front in its indentation, its concave look, and then down at the bottom, a tastefully done lower fascia with big dual exhaust tips on it. Now, when you look at the back of this kind of looks like it might have a trunk that opens up, but this is a hatch, sort of a different thing in our modern day car culture. It opens up power just like on a big SUV, so you don't have to lift that thing up. But yeah, it's a hatch, which is a good thing because if it were just a trunk, it would be a pretty small opening like we saw on, say, the Camaro when it was still being built, which it's not. So, but stepping away and really having a good look at this car, it's not only big, it not only has the presence, but it screams muscle car in every way. They didn't miss a beat here. Let's step inside and have a look, because the interior is actually, besides the performance, one of the high points of this car for me. I love a big American car. I always have. I grew up in the era when we had big American cars, and this is what it's like. There's so much space in here, both in the front and the rear, but the design is so well executed here. Stellantis has done an amazing job at creating an interior that's modern, that fits in a muscle car. And I've seen a few other muscle cars made in America of recent years where they didn't quite hit the mark. This is an interior that not only has high quality materials for the most part, at least in the trim grade that we're in, but the look, the feel, and the appeal of it are spot on for the type of car this is. Seats will look like they're leather. They are heated and ventilated, but they're actually leatherette. That is one letdown. At this price, I would like to have leather seats. All the soft stitch trim on the dash, the console, and the door panels goes along with it quite well with the accent stitching. I just think it looks good, and it just makes you feel like you're in a car that is fitting of the price tag. As I sit here and look forward, big 16-inch digital instrument cluster screen. This is an upgraded screen from the base model. Over in the center is a 12.3-inch infotainment screen, but it's not just that. It is surrounded by touch controls, so it actually looks like it's quite a bit bigger than that. It also has hard controls, volume, and tuning. Just below it, it has some touch controls for the most used HVAC. There is a HVAC menu in it, but it doesn't force you to dig through all of those pages to get to your most used things. Center console is perfect for a car like this. It has a place for your phone down here, a charger, another space next to it for more stuff, cup holders down low so big gas station cups fit, a shift lever, not a dial, not a button, it's a nice lever that you can hold on to, because I don't know, I'm a man in a muscle car, I want something to hold on to. It's just my nature. Start button right behind it. Storage in here, pretty good. Not the biggest you might expect to find, but you can almost get a rectangular tissue box in there. These seats are quite comfortable. With the heating and ventilation this week, I've been able to use both because it's been both hot and cold. Adjustments are good. We do have power for both the driver and the passenger. The steering wheel is kind of a squircle design, not my favorite, but because of the way this interior is designed, I can see why they went this direction. It's got a healthy dose of controls on it. It has paddle shifters on here for the 8-speed automatic transmission and the drive mode selector right here, and you can thumb through those. As you can see on the screen, those light up across the screen, and particularly in sport mode, changes the way the screen looks. And so this is well done. I like the look of it. I like the controls. It's comfortable. Still getting used to the squircle steering wheel, just driving it around town and maneuvering with that. Navigating around on this infotainment system, pretty good. Uconnect is what Stellantis calls their infotainment. I like it. I've really liked a lot of the most recent versions of it. The graphics are good. It works well. This has the optional Alpine audio, which makes it sound absolutely great. It, of course, has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto that is wirelessly connected. It has TomTom navigation standard native on here, so if you don't have a connection with Apple or Android, you still have navigation. That is a big bonus these days. A lot of cars are cutting that out. And when you dial into things like the ambient lighting in here, it's called attitude adjustment. I love that. Perfect for this car. When you look at what they've done with the ambient lighting, it wraps all the way around you like a halo. Really loud at night. You can dim it, which I've done, but right now it's set on orange to match the car, but there are infinite colors that you can choose to really set the tone and make it match your exterior, whatever you want to do. Now, the back seat. This is a two-door sport coupe, but what we don't see in our market these days is a massive back seat in almost anything, let alone a two-door sport coupe. Look at that. Look at all the space back there. Now, I'm not going to get back there and sit like I normally do in cars because, well, it's two-door. It's kind of hard to set the camera up and do all that, but there is room back there for an adult or two or three, even with adults sitting up front. You can't do that in a Mustang. Try it. You just can't. When you open up the hatch, you've got a huge trunk back there because this is a huge car, and the seats fold down almost for a perfectly flat load floor, almost like an SUV. So if you want one of these and your girl's going, that's not very practical, show her this because, oh, look, we can still go buy big things almost. you gotta sell it. But the one thing I will tell you is there is no spare tire here, and because this car is designed to be an electric at the outset, the packaging isn't the best as far as giving you lots of storage space in that area below. There's a small area there for the tire refractor kit. That's not the right word, but you get what I'm saying. And even as I sit up here, you're sitting pretty tall in this car because this floor, this entire car is designed to house a mattress-sized battery underneath the floor. And so the floor is higher than you might normally expect in a car like this. You're sitting up. You're not sitting down in, which honestly, for older guys like me, getting in and out of it makes it a little bit easier. So this interior, I really like it. I think they've done a great job. The materials are better than I expected. The design is a knockout. All right, one last stop on the tour before we get out for the drive, and that's what's under the hood right here. 3-liter inline 6. This is the new Hurricane engine from Stellantis. Twin turbochargers, direct injection, 550 horsepower, 531 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot. It's mostly about the torque for me. The horsepower, fine. A lot of cars have a lot of horsepower now, but that much torque in a car like this is gold. But because it's heavy, and maybe why it's heavy, this has all-wheel drive standard, whether you like it or not. The good news is you can press a button, you can turn it into rear-wheel drive. So you can have your traction and control, or you can have your lack of traction and lack of control. Either way you want it. 8-speed automatic transmission, which we've come to like from Stellantis. They work very well. And with fuel economy, not as bad as you'd think for 550 horsepower. 16 city, 23 highway, and 19 MPG combined. Yeah, so I guess that's time to start it up and go for a drive. Woo! All right. Finally time to drive this thing and see what heats it up. Well, so we already talked about all the metrics, so that's out of the way. I can save a little bit of time for how this feels and how this responds to your driving touch. Now, this does have launch control. This does have the ability to put it in rear-wheel drive for smoky burnouts, drifting, whatever you want to do. I leave it in all-wheel drive for what we're about to do, just because we're way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm by myself, and I still have PTSD from that day the Cadillac CTS Blackwing tried to throw me into the ditch because of all its power and rear-wheel drive. So the question I always like to ask, of course, is how does it go? We're out here in the middle of nowhere, nobody around, and we're in sport mode. All-wheel drive, though. Woo! And 60. Woo! And a lot more than that. So that was actually, seemed like it was kind of mundane, but we got up to about 80 miles an hour pretty quickly there. Nice corner attitude. So under full throttle, this has a reasonably good sound. This transmission works very well to deliver shifts just as you'd expect. It always has. It's a wonderful gearbox. This engine has torque and horsepower, whether you're going from a stop or like right now, we're going about 50. Nice sound. Woo. And that was almost 90 miles an hour right quick. Now 0 to 60, 3.9 seconds according to the information that I'm given. That's about what it feels like. Again, I don't want to get a ticket. I don't want to die today, so I'm not testing this thing back-to-back runs, 2-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive. I'm sure somebody's done that. But what I've gotten from this and in my week of driving it is that this powertrain is a gem when it comes to how it delivers the performance and the fuel economy. I hit that 19 mpg this week in my week of driving it, even playing with it just a little bit here and there. So not bad at all. The thing that I can't get my head around is the sound. Now this has an adaptive exhaust system, cattle guard, which makes it louder when you put it on sport mode, and it really sort of varies the sound. It really sounds good when you lay into it. But when you start it up in the morning and you're just putting around town, when you're driving around, it doesn't quite have that V8 sound. It sounds good under full acceleration, but it sounds like a big Pinto. Yeah, I hate to say that because that's not necessarily a good sound. It's just, this engine just, it's almost too much at low speeds. They really ought to silence it down and just make it kind of give it a murmur, let it just do its thing. They're really trying to beef it up and make it sound like that muscle car that everybody likes, because when you got in the Hemi, when you got in the 392 or the Hellcat and you fired that baby up, you woke up the damn neighborhood. And this does too, but not in the same way. So the only complaint that I have here is that it just doesn't have the sound that you expect when you look at this car. It's a completely different sound. The soundtrack's just different. Now that we've got that high performance acceleration powertrain conversation out of the way, it's off my shoulders, woo! Let's talk about the handling a little bit, because this is really one of the most amazing parts of this car. Now, I have not driven the electric version, so I don't have that as a benchmark or a reference point. What I do have as a benchmark and a reference point is the previous generation Charger and Challenger series, which was one of the best chassis platforms in the muscle car era as we know it. It was solid, it handled well, it had German pedigree, it had all of the wonderful things that make a car great to drive. This, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much relativity this chassis has to that old one. I don't think very much. Kellegard. But what I can tell you is that this is solid as a rock, and you would expect it to be. This car, this body structure, the suspension was designed to carry a 1,200 pound battery around. So you take that out, you put a regular powertrain in it, you still have a solid car that you're building upon, and it feels like it. This car feels like quality on the road. It feels solid as a brick because it is one, but because of the suspension tuning and everything that they've done here, it doesn't feel too heavy and too big. It certainly isn't boaty. Now with these big tires and wheels, there's plenty of grip if you're out on a back road. I don't know about a road course, but this is a car that's gotten a lot of praise out there from other journalists who I respect. It won Car of the Year for a lot of different reasons, and it wasn't all about the powertrain and acceleration. This car is just well-rounded, well-designed, and the suspension is well-tuned. Steering feel, it's a little bit heavy. There's a little bit of numbness, but we're also talking about all-wheel drive in a big, heavy car. You'd expect that, but you come around a corner, you toss it into a nice little curve at speed, you don't feel weight transfer, you don't feel that. It's pretty sharp. Now, there is a lot of road noise because these tires are pretty big rubber, big noise, but they've made the handling really quite nice. It's just as good as the previous generation car, and if I were to drive them back to back, I'd say this feels a little bit sharper. And the ride is pretty firm. Now, the drive modes will go through the different metrics on how this car feels, just like with the powertrain. It changes steering, it changes a number of different things that really give you an attitude adjustment, so to speak. Yeah, attitude adjustment. It's kind of a theme here. But handling, yeah, that's the best part about this car, because those old cars back in the 60s and 70s, handling wasn't even a word you brought up. All right, everybody, that was fun. I had a good time with this car this week, and oh my God, I love the color. I am just, when it comes to muscle cars, I'm the one that likes them in the bright colors. I don't care what bright color it is, I'll take it. Don't give me silver, black's fine. Don't give me white, don't give me charcoal. I want this, and I absolutely adore this color. But before we go very much further, let me sort of give you some perspective on this muscle car guy, because I'm in my mid-50s. I cut my teeth on muscle cars. I was around when they were still around. I had one. My very first car was a 67 Mustang with a big block V8 in it, and I absolutely loved the car. And that is what programmed me on what a car was. Everything else, if it didn't have a V8, it just wasn't nothing. Of course, I've grown up and I've come around to a lot of different other things, but that's the lens that I look through when this car shows up and I'm driving it for a week. So this is the quintessential muscle car as it goes back to the 60s and 70s. It is big, it's bold, it's bright, it's fast, it's big. We talked about that. This is a massive car, and I absolutely love it. I think the styling is spot on. I think this is the best looking Charger ever. It's the sound. It is the sound that is keeping me from just being 10 to 10 with this car. If it had just a big old V8 in it that glug, 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 it'd be on my buy list. And that is my highest praise for any car that I test drive. I just couldn't live with the sound of this car. It's not a bad sound, but it just belongs in a different car. It's a great motor. We talked about that. It's fast. It handles amazing, which muscle cars back in the 60s and 70s did not. It has everything we always wanted in a muscle car back in the 60s and 70s, except the sound. It needs a V8. And the good news is, the rumor is, it's probably going to get one, because Stellantis, they're like backsliding Christians over there as it relates to their powertrains. This was an electric car when it came out last year. And then now it's got a straight six twin turbo engine in it. Now it's got a fuel filler right there. It's going to have a V8 within the next couple of years. Mark my words, whether that is a 392 or whether that is a Hellcat, Stellantis is no longer reading the Bible. They are going straight to Satan. So if you're a muscle car guy, you're probably pretty happy about that. And when they bring me a V8 and I drive it, I'll probably love it. So let's talk about the price though. $67,000. Now this one does have some options on it. You can get this exact car down around 61, 62 if you don't spend all of the money and go nuts. Still though, I don't think this is a bad price. If you go to a Mustang, which is the closest possible comparison, you're going to spend this much money now if you get something comparably equipped as close as you can get to this. Although Mustang's not available with all-wheel drive. A lot smaller. This has a back seat that you can actually put an adult in. You can put a big adult in the front. You can put the 6-foot tall guy in the front seat, and you can still put one in the back seat, and he's not going to be scrunched up. In the Mustang, you can't do that. You can't do that. So there are some differences. So I'm just pointing out that yes, you have to compare this to the Mustang if you're looking at muscle cars, but you can't really compare this because it's a different animal. But 67K, yeah, I'm good with that. And if and when a V8 shows up, you better be prepared to spend a lot more than that. Trust my words. And the dealers, they're going to want more than that even on top. But I really like it a lot. It would be on my I'd buy it list, but for the fact that the sound that this has just does not fit the car. So that is it for our test drive. If you like what we do, you can see our latest video right there. Better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there. Either way, stay tuned.